in-combat battle reports. Today we're coming to you from Middle-earth, where we have a three-way battle between the dwarves, the elves, and the army of the dead. Yes, it is a Hobbit Three-way. Let's take a look at the forces. On the side of the army of the dead, we have a lot of ghosties wielding ethereal swords, which cut right through armor and through toughness and directly into the heart, meaning their victims must check their courage rather than their armor. They also have a giant spider, and the King of the Dead with his own powers. He's at the top there. Next we have the Dwarven forces, and they're basically the forces from the movies and the book, The Hobbit. Thorin Oakenshield is right there at the front. Yes, I know it's the Gimli figure, but we're using him as Thorin. And Bilbo is up there at the top in the balcony. And then we have the elves in their woods. They're primarily archers, but you do have some spearmen and swordmen at the bottom. And you've got Legolas and his girlfriend right there in the center. The three sides roll to see who goes first, and it's the army of the dead, which makes sense seeing as they're aggressive. It'll be followed by the elves and then the dwarves. The ghosts rush directly toward the dwarves, sending everybody towards them. It looks like they're going to concentrate completely on one side rather than split their forces going after both. The elven spearmen and swordsmen move forward a little bit, but they're not going far. Instead, they're kind of protecting themselves to wait out to see what happens between the dwarves and the undead. The archers fire from the top, and there's only a couple of ghosts that are just barely in range, and they destroy one, which I'm not quite sure how you kill a ghost with an arrow, but in the game it allows you to do that. And Legolas and the chick from Lost also fire, and manage to take out one ghost that's barely in their range as well. The dwarves take their turn. They charge up towards the hill, with Thorin taking the lead. Armed and stinky! Many of the dwarves had to hop over the wall to charge, and one of them stumbled right in the center, landing flat on his face. That's gotta be embarrassing. The three archer dwarves fire and manage to take out one of the ghosts. Again, I'm not sure how an arrow does that, but they did it. It looks like the two forces are gonna clash next turn. Let's look at the whole board. You can see over on the right that everything's about to smash together, and it's gonna take a few turns before the elves get involved, which will give them a distinct advantage. On the army of the dead turn, the spider comes forward and eats one of the dwarves. And across the line, they have run into a few of the dwarves. One has been knocked back while Thorin is holding his ground. Several of the ghosts, seeing the threat from the other side, are turning and charging after the elves. They should reach them in about a turn unless the elves pull back into a defensive position. And the elves do not. The hand weapon troops push into melee with the ghosts. The spearmen double up on one of them, giving them 2 strikes. However, both manage to miss. The rest have not quite gotten into melee yet. But the archers have fired and taken down 2 of the spirits. Legolas and the chick from Lost have thrown their arrows into the mix, which makes it just a hail of arrows from the elves. I'm telling you, if they get to keep firing like this, there isn't anyone who's going to be able to get within 100 yards of this place. Thorin, meanwhile, is showing no fear as he destroys a ghost and goes and hacks at the giant spider. One of the other dwarves, too, is charging at the spider. Meanwhile, the dwarf on the other extreme has killed his ghost and is turning on another. The dwarves all have to take fear tests, but they're passing them as they get into contact with the soldiers of the dead. With so much close contact, the dwarven archers don't have a lot of targets, so one of them goes over and shoots one of the elves. Bilbo, meanwhile, was going over the ledge and fell flat on his face. He was going over at the exact same place, so apparently that's a very tricky spot. So here's the position at the end of the turn. The dwarves and the undead have met full on this hill over on the right, and the undead and the elves are starting to make contact in the center. It's anybody's game, but it looks like the undead and the dwarves are taking more casualties than the elves. So both the dwarves and the undead are going to have to pick away at them in order to have a chance later on. On to the undead's turn. The giant spider has spit out the last dwarf and has eaten another victim. The soldiers, meanwhile, have killed another dwarf and are charging at the others. The undead king, meanwhile, is slowly making his way, leading his troops and using himself as a reserve. He's the most powerful of the bunch, and when he hits a main character, they're killed no matter how many wounds they have. Over against the elves, one of them has killed the spearman, and another ghost has moved in to attack the other spearman. The rest are making their way to the elven melee troops. The elves don't wait for them on their turn, and they charge at them, passing their morale tests. The ones already in combat kill the ghosts they are in contact with. The archers, meanwhile, move up behind them. One of them has his eye firmly on the dwarves. Speaking of which, the dwarves continue to move up towards that hill. Several of them fail their morale tests. The ghosts have finally scared them, and so they won't come into contact with them. The dwarven archers fire, and they kill one of the ghosts, or banish him, or whatever you do to someone who's already dead. Thorin, meanwhile, has killed the giant spider, and is standing atop his prey. The banner bearer is trying to rally his troops, and Bilbo is coming up to join them. And the dwarven archer on the end fires and kills another one of the elves. He is really ticking them off. So here's the overall battlefield again. It's not looking good for the army of the dead. They have a few ghosts left, although they are scaring the dwarves. And the king is in their center there, trying to determine which direction to go. The dwarves are well consolidated over there on the right, but if they can't find their courage, they're going to get bogged down with those ghosts and never be able to take on the elves, who they are now really starting to tick off. The elves are in a very good position. They still have most of their troops, but they're way over here on the other side of the table. That may work good for them because they're much better archers than anyone. The ghosts take their turn and they scare away more of the dwarves. But one of them finds his courage from the banner and stands his ground. Meanwhile, the king of the Undermountain takes on the king of the dead. It is mano a mano. The elves, meanwhile, move forward. The archers fire into the melees. They don't care who they hit. And they manage to kill the ghosts, inadvertently helping the dwarves. The dwarves thank them by firing back and killing one of the elven archers. Bilbo has put on his ring and has gone invisible. He moves towards the elves. This could turn him evil, but so far he's okay. On with the turns, and the battle between the kings rages on. The elven melee forces rush over towards the dwarves, and the archers do their fire along with Legolas. And it is very accurate. They take out the two dwarves behind the wall and the banner bearer. That's really going to hurt the dwarves. But they still have one archer left, and Thorin has killed the king of the dead. Bilbo, meanwhile, is sneaking around the elves, and they don't see him because he's invisible. He's creeped past the melee troops and is on his way to the archers. And looking at the overhead, it looks like the army of the dead is completely wiped out, which they had to be to the last man because they're all fearless. The dwarves are all crowded on this hill, but they have this rock formation guarding them from the elven archers. So these elven melee troops are going to have to swing around and go up and flush them out. Bilbo, meanwhile, is making his way into the woods and will soon be making contact with those elven archers. The elven soldiers have made it to their first dwarf, and with the swordmen in the front and the spearmen in the back, they're getting a couple of attacks, but they can't quite make it through his armor. Dwarves are really tough this way. It's hard to take them on in hand-to-hand, which is why the elves have swept some of their archers around to the other side to try to take a shot. They don't have one yet, but they will soon. The other archers, along with Legolas, take their shots and take down the last dwarven archer. Feely, no! Or was it Keely? The dwarves come back at them on their turn, taking out both of the elven soldiers and charging at the last one. Bilbo, meanwhile, takes his ring off and stabs Legolas in the back with Sting. He has killed Legolas, their star player. This is really going to demoralize the elves, who now take their turn. The one remaining elven swordsman loses his courage and runs away from the dwarves, which is probably a good move. This leaves it clear for the archers to come get them. Meanwhile, the elf from Lost goes after Bilbo, but she isn't able to get through that mithril armor. The archers line up for a shot, and the dwarves get behind the rocks so they can't get hit. Looks like the elves are going to have to go in and try to flush them out again. Bilbo puts the ring on, which is a risk because he has to roll every turn, and on a 1 or a 2 on a 6-sided die, he turns evil. But he manages to succeed, and is walking around invisible behind the elven lines once again. The elves get away from his last known position, and set themselves up as a firing squad. The dwarves, having no patience, jump up over the rocks and run at the elves. One of them stumbles over the rocks as he goes over. Bilbo moves up on one of the archers while the archers fire at the dwarves, taking out both of them on either side of Thorin. He's on his own now, except for the one that stumbled on his face. Thorin races forward at the archers and gets in between two of them and slashes them both down. Bilbo gets up behind an archer and stabs him in the back, taking another one down. There are only a few elves left. This is really turning around and may come down to the last man, or elf, or dwarf, or hobbit. The elves elect not to go into hand-to-hand, instead choosing to shoot at the dwarves. And look at these horrible rolls. A 1, a 1, and a 1 and a 2 on Bilbo. They just can't hit anything without Legolas. The dwarves, meanwhile, have completely opposite luck. Thorin rushes up and gets boxcars, taking down another elf. The other dwarf rushes up and he gets a 6 as well, taking out yet another elf. The only one left is Lost Chick, otherwise known as Who in the Hell Is This Girl in the new Hobbit movie? Because she wasn't in the book, but she's really hot, so we'll forgive her. And besides, we loved her in Lost, so we hope she kicks a lot of ass. And now she turns around and takes out the dwarf. Thorin Oakenshield is now on his own. He charges at the elf. And this is where it gets very interesting. He rolls well and chops her down. But Bilbo has lost his will to the ring and is now gone evil. He turns on Thorin and stabs him in the back, killing him. That leaves Bilbo as the only survivor on the table. He is, by default, the winner of this game. So he doesn't have a side, but the winner of this game is Evil Bilbo. So from Mount Doom, across the Tower of Khazad-dûm, past the rock wall and the exit sign, and through the scary land of Geek and Sundry, we arrive at the land that is now controlled by our victor, the Lord and Master who now rules from his tower, worshipped by spiders everywhere, our very own Evil Bilbo, who wishes everyone to subscribe, and happy gaming, everybody! Did you like this video? Then be sure to subscribe to see more and share us with your friends. Also, if you'd like to support us financially or just give us a tip, consider a donation on Patreon. A little donation from each of our viewers helps us expand the videos, keeps the channel going, and helps us make more of them. You also get bonus videos and a big thank you from us. Happy gaming, everybody!